Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to one of my good friends in this MMA community. He is a writer, he is a commentator, and the host of the Headkick audio MMA podcast. He is Steve. Steve, what's going on, my man?
Oh, just another day in paradise. Seems like 2020 and 2021 are, kind of the same right now, given what's happening on Capitol Hill. But as far as me, I'm fucking great. I'm on According to Woods. I've been wanting to come on this thing for a while, so I've been watching you closely, man. Stoked.
Well, I appreciate it, and that's the thing about it. It's like, unless it's like whether it be content creators, aficionados, or lack thereof of combat sports, like in any other facet in occupation, right? Somebody wants a particular spot or a raise, and they'll undercut each other and blah, blah, blah. Here in this sphere, it's just like, hey, I do this cool thing. My friend does this cool thing. You should go check them out. And fuck it, and if you like my shit, maybe you'll like theirs too.
Exactly. The thing I like about the MMA community is the fact that we could be doing the same thing that the other guy is doing, maybe even have the same take, the same information, but with just our own individual spin on it. But we all support each other no matter what. That's what I enjoy most about this whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, in days like today where people are storming stuff and angry at each other, man, in 2020 and now, the first couple of days, first week of 2021, I am so good just to be safe in my MMA combat sports bubble. Like, that's just, it's the same. It's crazy in a sport that is about, punching and kicking and submitting, literally suspending one from consciousness unceremoniously, that we can feel the most harmony.
100%. It's a safe place to be yourself, express yourself, and get support from guys that are doing the same thing as you. It's not like how you were saying in the the corporate world or whatever, where if somebody wants what you want, they take you out. No, if you want what I want, then I'll help you get here. If I want what you want, you'll help me get there. It's all good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I gotta ask, like, how did MMA and combat sports find you? Because I know I kind of ventured in via pro wrestling, funny enough. Like, I watched Randy Savage versus Bret Hart in, like, I think August, September of '87. And to me, like, gone were comic books, gone were, like, a lot of things that I was into at the time. And I was just like, anything that is contested in a ring and later a cage, like, that is the most compelling stories ever told, right? The human triumph, triumph and tragedy, as you say, right? And, as a kid that grew up all over the place, and kind of accosted for, being a little bit different and, growing up biracial and blah, blah, blah. Like, how could you have, like, 364 days in wrestling, you get your ass kicked by your foe, right? And then that one day, that WrestleMania type moment, you get to beat the shit out of your foe, and you also get this gold belt that says you're the best in the world at what you do, right? And then that led into, boxing and Tommy Hearns and Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. and obviously Mike Tyson, and then obviously MMA came out in the early 90s, and I just kind of rode the wave. Thankfully for Dan Severn. When I saw Dan Severn show up on WWF TV with like 3 or 4 non-WWF belts, and I was like, who's this guy? And Jim Ross would be like, Ultimate Fighting, cage fighting champion. I was like, what is this? Is this a different type of wrestling? And think about what we knew at the time, where like, oh, the barroom brawler was the toughest guy. Oh, the bodybuilder. Oh, the karate guy, and whatever. And fucking Dan Severn in a gray fucking wet shirt and wrestling tights just beat the shit out of all of them, man. So what was it for you?
Okay, well, for me, I watched a little bit of MMA, like back in the early 2000s. My buddy would have it on, you know, at his house while we were practicing, because I also play in a band, and the band's been together since 2002. So, but it's not a career pursuit. It's just something that we enjoy doing. So he would have it on, and I remember seeing this big fat guy with a beard just come forward with, sloppy punches and put the other guy out. And for the longest time, I thought Tank was a badass, because that was the only fight that I would see would be, one here, one there, So I was like, oh, that's cool. And every time I'd ask him, hey, when's the next one? He'd be like, oh, well, I don't know. So fast forward, I got pretty deep in the music. We were writing albums and playing a lot of shows, yada yada. And then right around the time where I started seeing my wife, actually, her family is a fight family. So this is what they do on the weekends, is they would watch fights, whether it was Shark, whether it was Titan, whether it was Bellator, UFC, it didn't matter. They were watching fights on the weekend. So because that's a funny story too, right? So let's back it up so that I can, kind of give you an idea of how it all progressed, right? Because it's a fun story, but it's not something I'm particularly proud of, right? So in 2010, because that was the year that everything went fucked up for me, right? I got a DUI, a domestic violence, a reckless endangerment, and a couple other something. It was like my 2020, right? So when I got the DUI, I was living with her at the time. So the domestic violence had to have come first. So, and when I say domestic violence, me and my brother got into a fist fight because I was drunk and the cops came, and I wasn't, beating up on women or anything like that. Just me and my brother were fighting, and the cops got called. And so they came, they took me away. And when I came back, the courts put a restraining order on myself from my brother and my mom. And so I had to move out. And so when I moved out, I lived in my car for a day, and my friend and my now wife, they called me because I had called them before I left where I was going. And they're like, no, don't go home. Just come here. We're watching fights. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to go home and go to sleep. Okay, so when I got a hold of them the next day, when I got out of jail, right, they're like, oh my God, where are you? What happened? And I was just like, I got arrested, the restraining order, I'm living in my car. And they're like, well, hold on. My wife gets on the phone and she's like, I got an extra bedroom over here at my house, $300 a month. You just come live here. I said, well, fuck, hey, that's pretty cheap. Okay, whatever. So I went over there, and so I was living in there. Everything was already in my car, so it wasn't really hard to pack, right? Because back then I didn't really have anything. I was just a 20-year-old, 21-year-old kid, right? So all I had was like, CDs, like a fucking crate of metal albums, and like some clothes, like some real cool band tees and whatnot. So it was really easy to move in. And I slept on, I think, a blow-up mattress for months. I don't even know. So it was like a week after they had moved in, I moved in. So I was almost there from day one. Well, so that's the first time that an instance happened, right, where they told me, instead of doing what you're going to do, just come watch fights with us. And if I had done that, I got arrested, right? I would not have gotten arrested. So fast forward a couple months, my buddy's band, he was doing a battle of the bands, right? And they ended up winning the whole thing, which was dope. And so I guess while they were, celebrating, they said, hey, at the guitarist's house, we're going to do a cake.
Hey guys, there's a little bit of technical difficulties, but we got him back. We got Steve back. Yes, there you go. So you were
Okay.
saying
Okay.
the Battle of the Bands,
All right.
right?
So I don't know where I left off. Battle of the Bands, right? My buddy, he won. And so the guitarists, they wanted to do a celebration, right? They had a cake at the house, which was, all the way out of town, but not too crazy. So I was just like, I called my friend and my now wife and told them, hey, my buddy's band won. I'm gonna go celebrate with them at his house. And they told me, well, instead of doing that, just come home and watch fights, because they were watching fights again.
Well, did you know at that point that she might be the one that you get to literally watch fights at her family's place and live there? Like, that seems like paradise to me, especially getting into fisticuffs with your brother. I mean, I'm just saying.
Okay, well, so I wasn't even mad at my brother. That's the whole fucking thing. I wasn't even mad at him. I came home, I was drunk, and I was yelling at my mom for nothing, right? She had no idea what was going on. And my brother was just huffy and puffy, trying to protect his mom, which I totally understand, where he was coming from. I was wrong, 100%. And he had every right to get huffy and puffy. And my brother, he's like 6'2". I'm 5'6", and this is my little brother, right? My little brother's always going to be smaller than me no matter what, but he's like, 6'2", and he's just looking down at me with he had long hair at the time, his hair in his face, just huffing and puffing, because I just woke him up, and I'm just like, you going to fucking do something, motherfucker? And he didn't say anything, and so I just started beating him up.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, my bad. Yeah, and since then, I think he got back at me by missing the wedding. So we're even, right? We're even.
I mean, theoretically speaking, I'm sure his record's a bit spotless, or maybe he made up for lost time. I don't know. Like, shit happens, and that's the thing. Like the domestic violence, because most people just think, hey, it's like it's anything that happens in your house, right? So if you get into a fight, you can have a fight with a pet rat named Ben, and kind of if Ben presses charges, chances are you and Ben are essentially going to some sort of court or something, so yeah, I mean, but I think it's hilarious because he's your big little brother, but liquid courage is Rick James says cocaine's a hell of a drug, but geez Louises, I mean, alcohol, get a fifth of bourbon in you, your shit gets squirrely.
Well, see, and that's the thing too, right? Because I'm one of 9. There's 9 of us total, and all my little brothers, including my little 12-year-old brother, I think he actually might be taller than me too. I'm 5'6". Okay, it's not my fault. God decided that this was as tall as I was going to be forever. Okay, it's not my fault. But I'm also the meanest motherfucker out of all my siblings. They hide shit from me all the time. Whenever shit gets crazy, like I'm not allowed to know anything, and like I said, I'm the meanest motherfucker, and that's about that. Every time we get into a fight, 9 times out of 10 I'm winning, just because everybody knows not to fuck with me, right? And I got a older brother, because I'm the second oldest. He's a little bit taller than me, but he's like 300 pounds. And I'll fucking push that motherfucker around. But we've all gotten, we've all gotten that out of our system. Now we can all coexist. I was, a 20-year-old shithead.
Yeah.
Now I understand life a little bit better, and I can handle my liquor a lot more. And Hennessy and Crown Royal are just a no-go for me, man.
You know what? Yeah, sometimes, that's I wouldn't say maturity, but that discernment, I guess that's a thing, right? Like, I did school, like Inglewood High, which is kind of funny because, like, I kind of ditched, like, getting shot at and drive by and whatever to go and watch Jackass, the first one, every showing that it played at the local theater, right? And after I was done at, like, midnight of watching like Jackass 8 times in a row, me and my friends decided, hey, we're gonna fucking push each other through bushes and everything like that. Would I do that now? Fuck no. That's not gonna happen. So it's just I like I said, I dare say it wisdom, but more discernment. Discernment is what happens.
Well, I would chalk it up to a learning experience and maturity, right? Because the older you get, the better you get at handling your alcohol. But at the same time, you realize what's important and what's something to really get upset about. And I think over the last couple of years, especially doing the podcast, and because when you're doing a show like we do, like right now, we're having technical difficulties, and both of us are just letting it roll off our shoulders because we know we've been through this before, so it's nothing to get upset about. Before, I didn't know. If something didn't go 100% my way, it was like, what the fuck? So, but anyways, back to the story so I can get to, how I got to where I am, is I go to the kegger and I have a blast, but we're there till like fucking 9 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm shit-faced. And the guy won't let us stay at his house because his dad, who's in like Colorado, says he doesn't want to have anybody over. I'm like, well, your dad's not here, so he's not going to know. I'm too fucked up to drive. Can I please just crash on your couch? And he says, no, get the fuck out of here. I said, okay, fine, let's go. So I take my buddy, throw him in the passenger seat, and I get on the road and go. And I just went down this real fucking long, boring road called Sandario out here. And eventually I fell asleep at the wheel, literally, and crashed my car in the desert. I mean, the thing flipped, there were flames and whatnot. So the paramedics come like almost immediately. I think people were probably calling saying, yeah, there's this guy who was riding the wave that is the road. And he just crashed. You should probably go get him, right? Yeah. And so the paramedics show up, and I'm chain smoking, man, because I have to flip up my car. I have to, put out the fire with dirt. My buddy, who's got a firearm, he's fucking dips in the desert to fucking go hide it, comes back, he's helping me put out the fire. And then I'm just like, okay, so I don't know what the fuck to do. So I'm just going to fucking smoke. And the paramedics are right there. And I asked the lady straight, like, we're right here, right? And I was just like, she's taking my shit. And I'm just like, do I look drunk? Dead face, right? Just, do I look drunk? And she goes, no, sweetheart, you look fine. You'll be fine, right? You know what? And I blast right over the best part of the story. The best part of the story, right? Because, when you're drunk, your brain works a little bit differently, right? It works a little bit differently. So when I crashed, I woke up mid-rocking in the desert, right? And I'm wearing my seatbelt, okay? Because I'm responsible, sort of. I'm wearing my seatbelt. My buddy's not, but he's just, passed out on the seat. So when we hit and flip, right? We hit and we flip, and I, flip, bang. So I'm literally sitting like this with my legs, like, kind of in the air in my seat, so I'm completely, what is this, horizontal? Yeah. Completely horizontal. I look down at my buddy, and he's like, laying on the door, kind of like waking up, and I can hear somebody coming. Okay? I can hear somebody coming. And when I'm drunk, so I'm trying to think of a way to get out of it, right? I'm like, how the fuck am I going to get out of this one? So I yell as loud as I can, Did you see that fucking coyote? Nobody responds because nobody knows what the fuck I'm talking about. But it's just funny because I can picture myself yelling some stupid shit like that, trying to get out of, being in trouble, like a little kid, like a little fucking kid. So anyway, the nurse tells me, no, you look fine. You're going to be fine. The cop gets there, and it seems like everything is going well. And then
there you go. This is a fabulous story, by the way. This is great.
Right? Okay, so it seems like everything is going well with the sheriff at this point because we're at a city limit, so they have jurisdiction. And the sheriff he's a real pro. Real nice guy, treating me with 100% respect, even though I did absolutely nothing to deserve it. I'm drunk. I crashed my car. I'm a menace to society at this point. And so he's like, okay, well, I need to do the sobriety test. And I was just like, oh, I thought we were, having a good time, bro. Like, what happened? What happened to our chemistry? And, of course, I can't do anything other than smoke cigarettes. And so I'm like, trying to walk the line. And I'm like, bro, I need to sit down before I fucking pass out. And he goes, oh, do you have any medical issues? And I was just like, my brother's got vertigo. The one I beat up not too long ago, right? My brother's got vertigo because I'm still scheming, right? What a shithead. I'm so embarrassed about this story, but it's so great at the same time, right? So he sits me down in the fucking cop car in the back, of course, right? And then he gets in the front seat and he's writing up some paperwork, and I'm just like, hey, man, I'm sorry. And he's like, no, I'm sorry. It seems like you're having a real shit day, and I got to give you a DUI. And I was just like, okay, sure, no problem. This is where it gets intense, right? So I step out of the car. I'm like, hey, can I get up and walk around? I'm starting to feel a little better. He's like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Okay, so I step out of the car, and he comes around, and he's got a clipboard. And he tries to hand me this clipboard. He says, here, I just need you to sign here. And, we can call whoever you want to come pick you up, and I'm going to let you go. You just have to appear at this court date. So that was the paperwork I had to sign, right? This is fucked up, right? This guy is just the nicest dude on planet Earth, just trying to do his fucking job. And I fucking smack the clipboard out of his hand. Just boom, right? And I start yelling at him.
Oh my gosh! What? I mean, literally the anarchist that Steve is from the Headkick MMA podcast. I mean, literally, literally knocking out the clipboard from a cop, a sheriff. Like, what is this?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little bit of liquid courage, a little bit of immaturity, a little bit of Steve mixed in there, right? And so he maintains his composure, and he's just like, okay, he steps back. I'm yelling at him, right? He just steps back, says something on his fucking radio, and at this point, my mom shows up because he had called my mom. So I guess they had gotten my phone and yada, yada, right? So my mom shows up, and she sees me flipping out, and she goes, "You're like, what the fuck are you doing?" And I was just like, "He's fucking trying to take me to jail. He's trying to take me to jail." And she goes, "No, he's not. He's releasing you into my custody." Even though I'm 21 at that point, right? He's trying to be cool about it. So I'm like, "No, fuck that guy. Fuck you. I'm just fucking done." Well, his buddy pulls up and just grabs me, right? He gets out of the car, just grabs me, picks me up, right? And slams me on the other guy's cop car. And I mean, I'm like, bam! And I'm just like, oh shit, I'm awake. What happened? Where am I? And he's just like, in my ear, like, "You want to be a fucking shithead? I'll fucking take you to jail. I'll fucking take you right now, motherfucker." And I'm just like, oh fuck, okay, this guy means business, right? So I think, even though the other guy was nicer, I think that was probably a bad idea because he doesn't know Steve. He doesn't know drunk Steve. He doesn't know 21-year-old Steve. And 21-year-old Steve needs a guy who's not going to fucking play around, right? He needs somebody to come in and show him that he's the alpha male and Steve is not, because I probably took the other guy's niceness as a weakness and thought, well, I'll just bully him and get out of this DUI because, right? Nah. So the other dude comes and, eventually I calm down and they're like, okay, cool, we're going to go ahead and release you into your mom's custody. And I was just like, at that point now, I'm starting to be, I'm sobered up, right? And I'm just like, oh my fucking God, I can't believe I did all this. I'm just going to go. And my mom's like, all right. And so everybody's telling me, no, go home with your mom. And she's like, nah, fucking let him go. He'll figure it out. Mom knows. Yeah, let him go. So they all leave, right? I had to call, or my mom called my dad because he drives a tow truck for a living. So of course he comes and saves the day, picks up the car. And it's ruined. It's gone. It's total. And I start walking home, and I walk home the wrong way. I get about an hour the wrong fucking way because I don't know where I'm at. And I'm like, fuck, I'm going the wrong fucking way. I start coming back. Some weirdo in a big-ass truck, says he'd give me a ride. So I get a ride. I go home, and you go straight to my room, close my fucking door, and I'm just like, okay. I've fucked up a whole lot today. I just need to go and, sleep it off. So now that's 2 times where something really bad happened, where my wife, my friend at the time, right, they had just said, hey, come over, watch some fights, and all of this would have been avoided. Well, so now I don't have a car, and I'm spending a lot of time with, my wife and the other girl that lived there. We're going over to her parents a lot, and we're watching fights. And, the roommate thinks that I'm interested in her, and I was actually, interested in the wife. But I did both of them, so that didn't even matter at this point. But so now, every weekend, that's what we're doing. And I'm watching these fights.
Man, that's a wild. I mean, this guy's a wild boy. So I think we got him here.
So I'm watching these fights with them every weekend. Am I back on yet?
Yep, you're good.
So every weekend I'm watching these fights. I'm watching these guys compete, and I'm watching these guys that are
and I think this is a good, PSA, right? I mean, this is this happened in his youth, and yes, obviously drinking and driving, a bad deal. Thank you for pointing that out. And that's that's a thing, but it's something that we learn in time where, we kind of learn what we can and can't do, so that's that. But you guys are watching fights every week.
Watching fights every week. And I'll tell you, the one that fucking got me. Okay, the one that fucking got me was this guy, Ed Wild West. And he doesn't know this. And I wish he was fucking watching. I wish he was watching. He's a Bellator veteran. He fought for the title, I believe, when they were doing the tournaments under Bjorn. And I just watched his buildup, and I was just like, this guy's a crackhead, but I can't look away. I love this guy. I fucking love this guy. He does this little fucking eye wiggly thing. He does the splits, and his game is all kicks and whatnot. So I'm just like, this guy, I like this guy. And seeing what he can do, just mostly based on athleticism, right? Because of course he's a karate guy, and he's got beautiful technique, and his ground game was pretty good. But I just seen a guy who was in really good shape, getting over most people just purely based on his athleticism, right? And now, granted, his career didn't turn out very well with Bellator towards the end. He ended up fighting for Jesus Christ. He ended up fighting for World Series of Fighting, which is now the PFL. But he was the one that, you know, just watching his, I'm like, that story could be my story, and I could be the one fighting in this tournament against these guys my size. Okay, so this is probably 2010, 2011 at the latest. And so seeing that, I keep telling my girlfriend, which is my wife now, and her dad, because we're at her parents' house, right? And everybody, I said, I could fucking do that. I could fucking do that. I could fucking do that. And it became a joke where, you know, remember when like almost all the champs were Brazilian?
Yes.
You had Silva, you had Aldo, you had Cigano, you had like Machida, like you had all these Brazilian champs. And my father-in-law, he's just like, man, you know, the Brazilians, they get, you know, all these titles. I wish we could just get one, you know, and I wish we would, you know, cheer for our fighters like the Brazilians cheer for their fighters. And I'm just like, you know what, you're right. Here's what I'll do. I'll bump up to heavyweight or middleweight. I'll fight Anderson Silva and I'll get your title. I'll go fight Junior Dos Santos and I'll go get your title. I'll beat up to heavyweight. I could take him. Right. So it's kind of like a joke at that point. And then to me, it just, at some point I decided it wasn't a joke and that I was actually going to try and compete. I'm like, look, I'm fucking young. I'm not totally, I was really out of shape. I was probably about 200 pounds at that point, which is, you know, sad because I'm only 5'6". And so I just said, fuck it. Like, let's get a fight. And they're like, well, how are you going to get a fight? How are you going to do it, Steve? And I'm just like, well, I'm going to look at local promotions. So I found Rage in the Cage. I found WFF. I found, you know, so I just, the first one was Rage in the Cage. So I messaged him. I saw a little thing saying, hey, if you want to fight for us. And so I called him. I got a fight. It was really that easy. And so I was like, they're like, well, you know, what's your weight class? I was like, what is my weight class? Because right now I'm a light heavyweight and I can't do that, right? And I said, what's the lowest weight class you have? They said, bantamweight. I said, okay, that's 135. I said, if I only have 2 months, I'll do featherweight. I'll do featherweight because I can lose about 50 pounds in 2 months, right? And I did. I got in phenomenal shape. I didn't do any saunas. I didn't do any water cutting. All I did was fucking run and fucking, you know, exercise and get in really good shape. Now, of course, that was to my detriment because all I did was get in really good shape and then get in the cage with a killer who he had fights already. He had, you know, experience. He was a boxer, you know what I mean? So I went in there and I didn't know what to expect, right? I have no idea what to expect. And they do this fucking weird thing where they bring everybody out and announce everybody, which was kind of not for me, right? Not for me. And finally, like, everybody is just pissed off because they all had to cut weight. And I'm just sitting here like, man, y'all are fucking, you need some Snickers. Y'all are angry. I'm over here like 142 pounds, you know, drinking my water. Like, I guess I got too light. And then we get in the cage, right? And you can see I wear glasses. I cannot see without them. My phone looks like a big old blob. Okay, sitting right in front of me, I can't make out either of our faces, right? So I can't wear them. I didn't do contacts because I wasn't sure if that was legal or not, you know? And I got in there and I fought this dude and I lost, right? And it was real quick. Now, my proudest moment, was he threw a head kick. And I'm blind. I can't see nothing, right? And I fucking blocked that shit. It looked so cool. Granted, I looked like a fucking moron while I was in there, right? I had no technique because I didn't train. I said I could do that, so I just did it like a fucking idiot. So he throws a Superman punch, and you know a Superman punch. It looks like a kick at first.
Yeah.
It looks like a kick until it hit me right in the fucking nose. Mm-hmm. I go down, and the dude throws a flurry, and then the fight's called off. I'll save us the semantics and, you know, what we all thought should have happened and just move on from there. So I was upset and I was just like, okay, so it's going to be 3 fights total. I'm going to fight 3 fucking times. And if I lose every single one, I did it. I at least can say I had the balls to get in the cage and do it, right? So a couple months later, I had my second fight. I went to a couple gyms to go see if I wanted to train there. And I linked up with this place called Apex MMA here in Tucson. And that's where George Rupert trained. Ed West trained there, who recognized me from a fight, which was weird, right? So a couple other, yeah, I thought that was the strangest thing. He's like, oh, yeah, you were at those fights. And I'm just like, you're the guy that fights on TV. Shouldn't I be saying, hey, you're that guy that fights on TV, right? So that's pretty cool. Well, anyway, they asked me, who's your opponent? And I said, my opponent is this guy. He's Joe Madrid. And you could just see on his face right away that the promotion was setting me up or, you know, trying to get this guy a win because this guy's obviously very skilled. Well, it turns out he went on to fight for World Series of Fighting. And he's a pretty fucking damn good fighter who's since retired. Very happy for him. So shout out to Joe the Barber Madrid here in Tucson. Great guy. Great. Beat me fair and square. But see, here's the thing that they don't tell you, right? You need to train for fights. They need to, number one, you can't just do it, right? And then 2, the second fight is always scarier than the first if you lose the first one, especially the way that I lost via TKO, right? So now I'm going into this cage with this killer, right, who was so much bigger than me. And my second fight was at 35, which was an easier cut than 45 because I was already in badass shape, right? So this dude fucking, they say fight, and he comes across the cage and just clocks me. And I'm like, oh my God, he fucking hit me, right? Duh, Steve, you're in a cage fight. And I go down, he fucking gets me in a rear naked choke, and that's it. I don't, you know, no submission defense. Get me out of here, right? So fight's over, shake hands. But when he turned around to go celebrate, he accidentally elbowed me in the head. So I was extremely salty when I left the cage. I shook his hand or whatever, but I was just like very disrespectful about it. I shook his hand, but I didn't look at him like a little kid. And so I left the cage all pissed off, taking off my gloves. Fuck this! This guy fucking hit me after the bell. They didn't do shit to fucking him, and they didn't protect me. And you know, of course, like a little fucking child, right? I'm so glad that I'm not like that anymore. Because telling these stories, I'm just like, God damn, like you're a loose cannon. You're immature. You're childish. Get over yourself, right? So anyway, the cool thing is when I was pacing around the back. I ran into CB Dolloway, who at the time was a UFC. He might have been ranked in the middleweight division, and I was just like, "Hey, man, you're CB Dolloway?" And he goes, "Yeah. You just fought, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah, but I fucking lost." And he's like, "Nah, no worries, man." He's like, "Good job, man. Congratulations." And I'm just like, "What the fuck? What the?" And of course, I just went into it, right? Blindfolded, guns blazing, not knowing what the fuck I'm doing. And when I came back out after shaking CB Dolloway's hand, which was really fucking cool, really nice guy too. At least to me at the time, I don't know, you know, I don't know him personally, so I can't speak on that. But when I came back out, I got to sit front row for the rest of the fights, which was dope. And everybody else is congratulating me, saying good job. And I'm just like, guys, I got my ass kicked again. What are you doing? Stop congratulating me. And that's just, you know, the sport, right? You had the balls to get in there, even if you lost, man, that's a fucking accomplishment on its own. And now I understand that, right? But watching these fights, everybody starts, you know, coming who came to watch me fight. They're showing me the video, and they're just like, bro, oh my God, how embarrassing. Like, you acted like a dick to that guy. And when he got up and turned around to go celebrate, I was still sitting there like a fucking dummy trying to figure out what happened, right? So his elbow, just when he got up, it just hit me. He didn't even know he did it. He didn't even know he did it. So I find some of the guys that train at his gym, and I'm just like, hey, man, where's Joe? I need to apologize. And they're like, oh, he's fucking gone. He's probably off drinking somewhere. He fucking, you know, he won. And so I'm like, call him for me. And they're like, all right. So they call him, and I'm like, hey, dude, I thought you fucking hit me after the fight was over. My bad. Fuck. I'm sorry. And he's like, no. Cool, no worries. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then I took some time off because I'm like, okay, I need to get some training in. I need to get in real shape. I need to figure this whole thing out. But I was also, we were recording an album at the time, and this one we were going to actually release. And, everything was hot and heavy with that. So I'm like, okay, I'll do this release, right? Because now trying to fucking figure out what I'm going to do in like a couple years span, just in the back of my mind, you're young enough, you have time. And no, you don't. Okay. You should have just fucking did it right then and there. Well, I fucking, I'm out selling tickets for the CD release show, which is a week away at this point, right? In 2015, I believe. Let me see. I've got the poster right there. September 18th, 2015, we released our first official album, right? And I was delivering tickets to one of my buddies, and we went to a bar, an outside bar, and of course hey, I'll have a couple with you, but then I'll have to stay. And then, once I'm good, I'll go. 1 turned into 2, 2 turned into 3, 3 turned into I don't know how many. And I don't know if we have time for that story.
Bring it.
Okay, cool.
Let's do it.
All right, it's another Drunken Steve moment, right? But so we get the tickets, and now we're drunk, and I'm like, okay, guys, I got to go home, but I got to sober up. Let's go get something to eat, and we'll just sit around and talk, and just get something in our bellies, because at this point we're all a little tipsy, right? And it's me, my buddy, who's 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", maybe somewhere in there, but he's he owns his own dojo, so, or at least is like one of the trainers at this dojo. So dude's like fucking badass, right? And so we start walking, and we're walking on University Boulevard. Okay, and so right across the street, there's a bunch of fraternity houses or frat houses, whatever. And I can hear somebody yelling from across the street something at me, or I just figured it was at me. And, of course, I'm drunk off of IPAs. This was the first time I ever had an IPA, by the way, which, now I drink them. They're pretty good. Right? The hoppier, the better. I love the hoppy flavor. Now I'm turning into a snob where, sometimes rolling just ain't enough anymore.
Pinky up.
Yeah. Am I good with that? Can I?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah. I'm over here sipping my tea like, all right, cool.
Dude, we had Fred Kirby fucking letting the bulb like he does on Keyboard Warriors, podcast we both love and friends of the podcast. So, shit, yeah, and I'm in California. So, I mean, aside from Oregon, like, shit is all the way live.
All right, cool. Right? Okay, so we start walking. I hear this guy yelling, and okay, he's talking to me. So I walk across the street. I'm literally like, stopping traffic with my hands, right? Not the cars, but luckily they hit their brakes and understood that I was on a mission. And nobody honked, which was great. So they really understood. Like, they had a deep understanding of what I was doing or what I was about to do, right? So I get in this guy's front yard, okay? And this guy, again, I'm a short motherfucker. He's fucking, up here, and I get, chest to, I guess, belly, right? Because he's tall. Tall, skinny dude, right? And I'm like, what the fuck you say to me, motherfucker? You better say it to my face. And at the time, I just shaved today. It looks good too, right? I mean, literally right before the show. I mean, I was looking like a homeless man. But back then, I had a terrorist beard. I mean, my beard, it was down to like, it was long, right? And the guy just said, oh, man, I said you have a nice beard. Because he could see it from across the street because it's hanging down, you know what I mean? So he's just trying to say nice beard, and I'm like, fucking ready to murder him. But as I'm yelling at him, right, 9 dudes come out of this house. And like, okay, so just like the movies, how all frat boys are tall, it was the same with this specific house. They were all tall dudes, like the size of my homie and this guy, right? And, you know, so they all come out and the other dudes are tripping, right? Karate dude is telling me, you know, hey, Steve, maybe we just, let him be okay. He just said you have a nice beard. Maybe we just go find some food. And the other guys are just like, fucking, what is he doing? Like, and they're, you know, a couple pudgy, nerdy guys who, you know, wanted to hang out with their buddy and get tickets to my show. I had just met them. Really sweet guys. I have never talked to them since this night, which, yeah, I understand. You know what I mean? I almost got them probably murdered, jumped, whatever, right? So all these, you know, these white frat boys start coming out of this thing, and, you know, then he just says, hey, I was just saying you got a nice beard. And so I'm like, oh, thanks. What are we doing now? Like, I was expecting a fight, and you were just telling me a nice compliment, so I don't know what the fuck we're going to do. And he was just like, I don't know, but instead of, like, causing a scene out here, like, why don't you guys just fucking come inside for a drink, right? I'm like, oh, interesting. Yes. But at the same time, 9 dudes came out of this house. So they had already gone. Once they saw it was de-escalated, they all went back inside, right? And so I go inside before homie and before my 3 other homies. Okay, so I go inside and I'm immediately like, I'm on the hunt for all these homies. He goes to the kitchen. My buddies are just standing in the walkway, which it was a beautiful. Oh, where did I go? There I am. It was a beautiful frat house. And I'm going around corners. I'm going in rooms, opening doors, like not giving a flying fuck. You know, they could be naked, they could be putting on makeup and dresses, or they could be sleeping, or just waiting for me to come through the door so they can, you know, punch me. But everywhere, I went everywhere in this fucking house that I could see, right? And I come back, and dude's coming with the bottle, like, hey, we're gonna have some of this. And I was just like, hey, bro. And everything's like real quiet. And he's just like, what's up? Because I'm mad again. Oh, and I was just like, where the fuck are all your friends at, bro? You had 9 motherfuckers out here. I counted. Where the fuck did they go? And he kind of leans back, right? And he's just looking around. And he's just like, oh, no. I need to get myself some new fucking friends. Wow. They bailed on him.
Wow.
They fucking bailed on him, right? And 2 homies that I just met who were not my homies, they're just a homie of my homie, and my homie are, you know, staying by my side. If it would have gone full-on Cobra Kai, like, these guys were scared shitless, but also down.
Yeah.
They were also down because they didn't leave.
That's
and
fact.
So now he's just like, okay, well, fuck it, let's just drink, right? And so we're standing in a circle, passing around this bottle, and it was either peppermint or something, because it was sweet. I remembered that. It might have been like schnapps or vodka or something, right? So we're passing around this bottle. We're just taking a drink, passing it, and we're all talking, having a good time. But I'm still the dickhead, right? I'm still a dickhead. Every time it comes to me, I would take a drink. I'd pass it to him. Of course, this is all pre-Rona, right? But before he could grab it, I would take it back, take another drink.
Oh my gosh, this is pre-Rona. Hey, man, the wild and woolly ways of Steve from the Headkick audio podcast. This dude might be Zach Wilde. He's the Berserker. You're the Berserker. That's what you are. I'm just saying.
Okay, so I take a swig, go and hand it to him, take a swig again, then hand it back to him. Okay, now at this point, we're all pretty, we're all feeling pretty good. We're all getting along. And I was just like, his name was Robert, right? I was like, hey, Robert, you gonna fucking make us something to eat? And he was just like, look, man, I ain't nobody's bitch. I gave you guys a drink, but I ain't fucking cooking for nobody. I said, well, I'm fucking starving. Let's go find food. And he's like, okay. So now we have a new buddy. And we fucking start walking down University back on track. And he starts falling behind on his phone, I notice. And I'm like, no. You're not going anywhere. You're staying with us. the minute we enter the place where I assume we ate, I don't remember nothing. I don't remember anything. I remember bits and pieces, right? I remember bits and pieces. So we entered the place, a lot of hot girls. But I think I was married by that time, right? So I was just looking at the trucks. I wasn't driving.
There you go.
And right, because I'm a nice, I'm a respectful. What is it? I'm just not a cheat. Okay. Anyway, so we got food, I assume, but then I was crowd surfing. I remember bits and pieces of the rest of the night. I was crowd surfing. Okay. And then the next thing I remember, I was in somebody's front yard standing next to their tree, yelling at my buddy, like my finger in his chest. So, way up here, right? Because I'm a short motherfucker. Way up here, yelling at him, you motherfucker, you motherfucker. I don't know why. And the next thing I know, now you've heard these stories like, oh man, I woke up in the gutter, right? You've heard people say that. Well, I did. I woke up in a literal gutter. I climbed out of the gutter and I'm pulling cactuses and thorns and fucking trash all off me. And call my wife, tell her to come pick me up. I give her the wrong address, like way on the other side of town because I don't know where I'm at. And I go through this school, which is weird. We don't have enough time to go through all that because it was just strange, nothing really pertinent to the story. But I call her back and she's like, where the fuck are you? You're not where you said you were. And I was like, oh, okay, here's the street. This is where I'm at. And she's like, don't fucking move. I'll come get you. I'm like, okay, cool. Right. Well, I'm walking along on top of a curb. Okay. And the curb ends and I'm on the phone looking forward, drunk as fuck, probably dying. I'm not sure. And I go to step, but the curb ends and I step with all my weight down and my foot had shifted. So I crushed my foot.
Oh, jeez. I mean, for somebody, and crazy enough, Stevie is the only person that I know that is a podcaster that also is on Tapology. You can check that out. That's crazy. But
yeah. Right.
Yes, it's so crazy.
Right? So I shatter my foot, and the wife comes and picks me up. Hey, we got to go get your car. And she's like, no way, you're gone. You're fucking trashed. You're not thinking straight. And I was like, no. Me shattering my foot sobered the hell out of me. Let's go get your car. We can't leave it on University. We'll be there in the morning. So we go, pick up the car. I drive home. I mean, we made it, right? And, of course, my foot's trash. I crutched it for as long as I could. And then after that, I just limped it. And I've been limping ever since. I didn't go to a doctor because I'm stupid. So I've literally been in pain for the last 5 years. This will be year number 6, right? Because 2015 was when this happened. Just nonstop pain, killed my fight career. And, I mean, fuck. So now I can't fight. It's 2015. I'm trying to figure out how I can stay connected to this sport. And it took me a while to figure it out. But I was a big fan back then of MMA Junkie.
Yeah.
They had, the radio show, right? And I'm like, hey, I could do this. So the following year in 2016, I started my own podcast. It didn't go anywhere. And it was boring. I was so awful, even though I had real good guests on. I interviewed Matt Bissett. I interviewed Ed West. I mean, I had good, solid interviews, but I didn't know what I was doing. And so I'm like, okay, shut her down. And then we were working on another album. So I'm like, okay, do the album thing, figure all this out in the interim. And, then careers changed and I was, managing big facilities, making a whole lot of money. And then, oh shit, I'm not doing that anymore. Oh fuck. Okay. So now I'm trying to figure out my career because I got a house I got to pay for. And so I picked it back up. I want to say in 2000, either late 2018, early 2019. I think April something was our first show. Our very first guests were supposed to be UFC lightweight Drew Dober and LFA commentator, UFC Hall of Famer, and all around badass Pat Miletich, right? So that was supposed to be like the fucking, what do you call it, the pilot, right? That was supposed to be the first show. Well, we fucked it all up. We fucked it all up. We had a co-host at the time, Jonathan Davis, not the singer to Korn, but he's actually also the drummer to my band, right? And we didn't know what we were doing still. We were still trying to figure it out. But we eventually had both of them on. But the Pat Miletich interview kind of, we fucked the dog on that one. The audio's garbage, which was a cool interview, because Pat's not just MMA. He's also a commentator. He's also very heavy into politics. He's got, his own other podcast. So it was interesting. And we fucked it up. Yeah, we had Drew Dober on. Drew Dober was fucking awesome, really respectful guy. And we fucking, just stayed at it. And had some really good guests on, and I think somewhere along the lines, because we didn't take off, we weren't making, real big money with the podcast, as quickly as Jonathan would have liked. He picked up, something else he wanted to do, streaming, because that's the avenue he wanted to go through. So he's now got his own streaming channel, which I believe is Chaotic JGD, I believe. So if you're into gaming and stuff, go check him out. He's still at the MMA white belt, which is the fucking handle we picked up for the show, because he didn't know anything. He's a wrestling guy. He didn't know anything about MMA. I just said, hey, let's do this podcast together. And he was just like, okay. So, but he learned, through the course of the show, a bunch of stuff. So he's probably at least a blue belt by now, I'd imagine. But like I said, he left the show, and so I continued doing it by myself. We made some adjustments. We picked up a sponsor, and I just been doing it ever since. And this is my way of staying connected to MMA, because I don't think that I can fight, because I tell the ankle story too much now. Anybody who knows me, or if we get in a cage together, all they got to do is kick that back foot and I'm done. You know what I mean? So it's not really something. I would do it if we went with that rule where you couldn't kick my left foot. Then I would get in the cage with anybody. Francis Ngannou, let's roll. You know what I mean? But
I mean, theoretically,
kick it, and then
that's almost the rules, the terms of engagement of Ali Antonio Inoki, right? Like, that's pretty much it. No kicks, and then it ends up just kicking the shit out of your quads. I mean, I'm just,
Well, see, I'm okay with kicks, just not that foot. I mean, you can kick my head, you can kick my body, you can kick the other leg. I don't care about that one. You know what I mean? Have at it. Just if you promise to not kick my left foot, we're golden. I'll fucking sign a contract and get in there with anybody. The problem is, it's too easy to collect your win bonus by kicking that foot, so nobody's going to do that. Mm-hmm. Nobody is going to do that. So, fine, a podcast. A podcast is what I'll do, because I love fighting. And like I said, in 2010 is when I started watching it a lot, because of what we did every weekend. And I became a huge fan. I've even gone back and watched, most of the fights that, I missed, the UFC 1s, 2s, and 3s, and, the Prides and Strike Force. We saw their last few shows, you know what I mean? So I'm not like, the hardest core of hardcore. I haven't seen every fucking show, and I don't watch all of them. I don't. I watch the ones that I can get my hands on, and I watch the ones that I like, you know what I mean? So, and I'm a busy dude. We're all busy. We all have jobs outside of this that we're doing for free, you know what I mean? So I can't watch all of them. I'm not that hardcore, I guess. And if that makes me a fucking casual, then, fuck. Jim, I'm a casual. Sorry, bro.
Yeah,
but
it happens. I mean, life happens, and Adi says, "Man, I love y'all. Love you too, my man. You're tremendous." Now, I mean, so was it that first incarnation what ended up becoming the Headkick audio podcast?
Okay, so it was originally supposed to be like an MMA and music podcast, is what it was supposed to be. That's why it's Headkick Audio. Okay, the head kick is for the fighting, and the audio is supposed to be for the music. Well, you had to have all kinds of rights and yada yada. I didn't want to go through all that bullshit. So a buddy of mine linked me up with another buddy, and I started DJing so I could talk about music. So I was DJing, doing the podcast, working the show, doing the fucking the full-time job, raising kids, making love to the wife whenever I could, and doing the band. I mean, fuck. So that the head kick audio just turned out to, well, okay, fine. The audio doesn't have to be for music. It could be for the audio side, which I've totally like abandoned. I don't really upload my audio side. I just do the YouTube, mostly because I run out of time, and fuck, man, it is what it is. But hopefully this year, I haven't started this year at all. So I decided at the end of last year that I was just going to take a break. If interviews came my way, cool, but I want to spend the time with the holidays. I don't want to stress anybody else about the holidays. And, we had to figure shit out with the sponsor, because I work with my sponsor. What is this side? Okay. I work with the sponsor, and, we just try to fucking, I help them out as much as possible. I love these guys. HK USA is the brand, and they've helped me out a lot. We do some good work together, right? So I just decided at the end of last year, like, I'm just gonna fucking cut it off. Interviews come, they come. They don't. So I got one interview that I'm still trying to work on, because I picked up another job, and fuck, it's been a thing, right? But this year, I'm gonna work with mostly the same platforms. I'm gonna do not a different platform, like the way I shoot my show is gonna be a little bit different. I'm gonna look for a smaller shot, and I'm gonna probably change up the coverage a little bit, because I go in depth with all the cards. Because I do, when I watch a card, I watch all the fights. Even the prelims, Fight Pass, Facebook, whatever the fuck they're on. I watch them all when I do watch a card. So, but I think I'm gonna maybe, just so I can focus on the fights, because when it comes, I work from the bottom to the top. When I finally get to the main event, I talk about it for like a couple minutes, and then I'm like, fuck, I gotta end my show. It's not fair. It's not fair. You know what I mean? When fucking Joe Blow fucking has a snore fest with Joe Not Blow, then why am I talking about that fight on my show? I just be like, okay, that fight sucked. Move on. You know what I mean? Then talk about what the people want to hear about, and that's I want to try and work with my feedback, because before I'm just like, you know what? It's my fucking show.
Yeah.
I'll do what I want. I'll say what I want. I'll drink what I want. I'll wear what I want. And, maybe I should just fucking listen to people. And if I'm doing something stupid, maybe we should fix that.
But the thing about it, that's one of the cool things. And I look at, obviously, I in my mind's eye, the benchmark, in podcasting and MMA related content is the one and only Joe Rogan, right? So for me, as somebody that actually, that went to radio school, much like Eddie Law of the Keyboard Warriors, to do this stuff, it's so freeing to be able just to do whatever the fuck you want, man. Like, to not have FCC regulations to abide by. I don't schedule anything. I deal in MMA fighters and pro wrestlers. So, I'm going to fit my schedule on whatever opening they have, because they're in between fight camps or wrestling events or whatever the case may be, that it's just like, I think it would be a little bit too taxing, not just to them, but also me, to kind of figure out just like a set time, like every Wednesday night, this is what we're doing. I'm like, nah, that's not what's going to happen. And is that a tremendous Nerf gun collection? Good Lord. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's... Sorry, I had to go grab my charger because I didn't charge my phone like a dummy. But hopefully everybody saw that Nerf wall, because I'm pretty fucking proud of that,
It's tremendous.
It's expensive, but that's okay.
Anyway.
we're gonna work on the way that we do the show.
There you go. And I mean, Steve from Headkick Audio, Headkick MMA Audio Podcast has been so kind to share his time with us here at the According to Woods podcast and let us know the kind of the inner workings of not just him as a man and some of the the foolishness one can get when you're full of piss and vinegar, right, and bravado, but also the inner workings of Headkick Audio because it's tremendous.
Okay, I missed most of that.
You're good. No, but continue on with what you were saying. You were saying in terms of like the direction that you're going to take Headkick, in the coming year.
Yeah, I just, it's time for an update. And I'm not saying like the whole show is going to fucking change, but, just give it a little bit of a facelift and, kind of just maybe redo how I do some things. And that's it. But, the podcast has led to, I have fighters that are in the UFC that I developed a relationship with when they were on the regional scene. I have amateurs that text me regularly just to see how I'm doing. I have other content creators that we talk daily just about life. You know what I mean? So, and it's also opened up the door for other opportunities like these guys right here, the promotion I commentate for, Rough MMA here in Arizona. So, I mean, it's opened up so many other doors.
Man, and that's the cool thing because people from the outside looking in, they look at MMA as kind of this like pugilistic sport full of violence and stuff. But the value creation that Steve is getting from the MMA community, it's just tremendous. That floats over to your personal life outside of MMA.
I mean, my wife is friends with some of these fighters. You know what I mean? Like when you say that it transfers to the home life, like 100%. Sam Hughes, okay, good friend of mine. She fought for the LFA title. She's now in the UFC. My daughter had a project that she was working on, and Sam helped her. You don't get that type of opportunity to work with a professional athlete for your kid unless you have connections or you're just part of this community. And I'm blessed. I have some of the best friends in the world that we don't even live in the same fucking city. My best friend, he lives down the street, and I talk to y'all more.
But sometimes it's like that, and that's the cool thing, you mentioned the wife thing. When my wife is interested, and that wasn't the prerequisite, like, oh, you have to love MMA to be my wife or my kids. Like, my dad was a musician, and I didn't get any lick of it, right? But I used a microphone for a completely different skill set, right? But that wasn't the prerequisite. That's something my dad did, and that's something that now my kids do, right? So, but when I know, like, I've got magic is when my wife kind of looks over and goes like, hey, or, she'll get like, oh, wait, Chase Gibson's fighting, you should buy a fight shirt. I'll rock it. Like, and it's just, it's that seamlessness. It's just, I mean, it's so cool and so gratifying.
Yeah, it's a cool, and I mean, I don't think you're gonna get the same kind of love from let's say football, right? Because my favorite fighter, Sam Hughes and John Jones and Dustin Poirier, I can have so many different tastes, looks, or whatever, and you could have Tony Ferguson, Conor McGregor, and Israel Adesanya.
It's Steve was talking about in terms of like, you can have your favorite football team, versus like your favorite MMA fighter and bond over that, because sometimes when you like a rival football team, somebody in the family that likes a rival football team, it's just like there's some like uneasiness, to say the very, you know to say the very least. But like, you could have a different love of fighters, and it's cool, and you still love the thing.
100%. I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan and I'm a Packers fan, well, we obviously don't like each other. What the fuck does that have to do with me as a person or you as a person? Your favorite fighter is Israel Adesanya. My favorite fighter is John Jones. We can coexist. We can have a lot in common. We could be great friends. So it's not like other sports. And I think that's, why I enjoy it so much. Just on the community side. Then you want to talk about fights. I've called fights, right there in the fucking booth, and it don't get any fucking cooler than that, man. It really doesn't get any blood gets on you from the cage.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one closer is the fucking ref. Like, that is it. He is the only motherfucker that's closer than you to that action when you're calling the fights. You know what I mean? So, I mean, fuck, I wouldn't get that opportunity. I can't call pro football. I can't call pro soccer. I mean, I can't. But with MMA, you can't. You got to have the right opportunity. What is making all that squeaking noise, man? That is fucking bothering the shit out of me. But I mean, you can't do that with other sports. I think because MMA is still growing, it's still, becoming, like your NFLs and your NHLs, your NBAs, and whatever other acronyms we can throw into the fucking alphabet soup.
Yeah, man. And MMA is a wonderful thing because, and much to what Steve was saying, not only could you like call and follow, fights or cards and stuff like that, but also you join an MMA gym, chances are you're going to be rubbing shoulders with people that are in the UFC, in Bellator, in one championship, and what have you. Where else in the world can you do that? Because you can't play pickup basketball and essentially be any closer to LeBron James or Michael Jordan than you would be sitting at home.
Exactly. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I mean, like I said, I went into a gym just to go scout to see where I wanted to train, and I ran into high caliber athletes that, were welcoming, were recognizing me, and just open and not shut off, or well, who the fuck are you, that kind of attitude. Like, I don't know who the fuck you are. And you just don't get that with other sports. I mean, there's just so much to love about being a part of this sport, being a part of this community, where I mean, I can't not like it. I mean, I don't think there's one aspect of the fight aside from losing. And even then, you can find something good in losing, because let's take Austin Lingo, for example. He was just on the Combat Sports with Rhino podcast. He's been on my show. He headlined a couple LFA shows, and then he got a call up to the UFC, and then he got beat. He got beat. Yeah, he got beat via decision. A guy that usually comes in and knocks people out, and you know what? I think the guy fucking learned a lot from that loss, and I think it happened at the perfect time in his career, to where now he can see that where he needs to make the adjustments, and the loss isn't a bad thing. Okay, sorry, I got an Amber Alert. They can learn, and in football, sometimes the other team is just always better. Look at what is the worst team in the NFL right now, like the Bears or something. I mean,
Like
yeah, you know what I mean? So it's just, when you lose in football, it's not the same as losing in MMA, because if you lose in MMA, you lose half your paycheck. You lose fans, because the motherfuckers that are dusting the potato chips off their tits or whatever, they're the couch fighters, the couch coaches, like, get the fuck out of here, so you lose fans. Sometimes you can even lose credibility, but I think there's still a lot to gain from a loss, and knowing what you can do to improve, so that that shit doesn't happen to you again. And I don't care about records. Like, I don't care about records. You get in the cage, you fight other people for a living. You have my respect, and I've interviewed people with losing records. You know, I've that your record doesn't concern me. Do you get in the cage? Do you fight? And do you want to shoot the shit with me for 15 minutes, half hour? Let's do it. You know what I mean? So this it's a whole different ball game than any other sport. And I think the uniqueness and that anything can happen, and it's even getting to where you got fighters like Hamza who just come in out of fucking nowhere, and all of a sudden they're the biggest fucking thing. The UFC and other MMA organizations are able to build new stars, so you don't need the Chuck Liddells, you don't need the Anderson Silvas.
Mm-hmm.
And the new stars are being made all the time, so we're always going to have something to talk about.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And that's one thing that is absolutely endearing. But one thing that's absolutely enduring about you is obviously, and you kind of alluded to some before, but I definitely want you to get some shout outs out of the way for people that have helped you both in life and via the podcast, via the band, of what got you here to the dance, man. So as the kids say nowadays, so let's get some shout outs out of the way.
Okay, so through all that robotic, I heard shout out. So let's get that out of the way. Of course, me sponsor, my guys over at HK USA, best sports gear on planet Earth. I do have a code, so if you go and order their shit, you can get 20% or 10%, whatever my percentage is off the order. It's HK Audio. Just put that shit in at checkout, and boom, you get some money off your order. They do full customs. They do everything. Anything combat sports, they do it. And if they don't do it, they can't. Okay. So super badass, really nice people, real reasonably priced items, especially for full customs. I can't beat it. And not just because I work for these motherfuckers. Am I, trying to, stroke the shaft and cradle the balls, but I fought, so I used gear before, and this stuff is the best. It's the best stuff that I've ever used because I do actively use it. So no bullshit. Check those guys out. And then second, I want to thank you for having me on the show, man. Mr. Woods, this has been awesome. This has been awesome. And I'd like to do this more often, man. I like, helping my friends out and shooting with my friends and, just building the community up even more. You know what I'm saying? So thank you. Thank you.
Oh no, man! Thank you, because again, we're a part of this, and big shout out to the keyboard warriors, Fred Kirby, Jesse, Eddie Law, because we have this whole. I mean, I can't watch a UFC fight now without our little group chat, because it's just like it's like that old Hulk Hogan Rat God commercial. Anything less would be uncivilized, So I thank you, because that's the way that we've all come to be, and I'm just glad to be doing this thing with you. So anytime, let's do this, my man. But moreover, let's shout out the former friend. Well, she's still your friend, but your wife, man, because there was a lot of dark places that you ended up kind of scurrying around and everything like that. And I mean, it seems like she was the brass ring, the canary in the coal mine, and it seems to be Headkick's number one fan still to this day.
Okay. I'm not even going to pretend to understand what all.
Yeah, man. So again, go ahead and check him out. He is Steve from Headkick MMA Audio Podcast, and yeah, well, I mean, let's shout out the social media, my man.
Okay. Social medias. Okay. Facebook, Headkick Audio, Twitter at Headkick Audio, and then Instagram, it's at HKA_AZ. Now, I don't know what other platforms I'm on, but I do the video via YouTube. I do the podcast audio side because I think I'm gonna get back to that this year. Because why the fuck am I paying for it? So that'll be on all your streaming platforms. So your whatever you use for your podcast, just go there and it should be available. But real quick, aside from you and the keyboard warriors, obviously the boys in the MCCI, you got Rhino, Steve K, Juicy Juice, Dave Frets, all those guys. And then Angel at Shark Division, I believe is his at. Love that guy. All of his positivity, 100%. If I'm having a bad day, all I got to do is message that guy. And then, the keyboard warriors, those guys. And then God's MMA, that's his handle. And then Unbroken. Those two guys were my first two, like, real true, MMA Twitter homies. And I learned a lot from those guys. And we still shoot the shit. I mean, really, I took like a month off, and one of the only people to actually genuinely reach out was Rich over at Unbroken. So I love those guys. They're day oneers. And then, of course, I got to do a few of my faves. Of course, I've said Sam Hughes a couple times on this bitch. But Adrian Yanez, that's pretty much a day oneer. That guy, I've had him on my show, I don't know, 5-10 times already. Really super cool dude, super talented dude, obviously. But, shout out to that dude as well. And then, Rough MMA for letting me commentate for you guys. That's fucking dope. That's really fucking cool, man. We should have some news here coming very, very soon. Okay, so I haven't been given any green lights to announce anything. So something is coming. And just fuck, man. If anybody wants to fucking shoot the shit, you just message the person you want to shoot the shit with in this community. Guarantee you they're gonna fucking answer. They're gonna answer, and you'll have fun.
Damn right, just like we did
Just
here.
not me.
Thank you for answering the call.
Yeah, it's not me. Fuck you. I don't want to talk to anybody.
No, but you're tremendous. Again, check him out at Headkick Audio MMA Podcast on YouTube and other streaming services, as well as all across the social media landscape, my man. And we thank you, good folks, for watching us here at According to Woods. Can't thank you enough. And Addis, my man Woods, we gotta buy a shirt from you. Something's coming. Message me, link, will do. And my boy Woods, thank you, Addis. You're tremendous. Thank you guys for watching us here at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, we warmly encourage you to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And Steve, you're subscribed, right?
I think so. I think so.
It should be.
I think
It
I
should
am.
be. Yeah, damn right.
I should. If not, I'm gonna be. So anybody watching, anybody commenting, you go subscribe, because if I'm gonna do it, you're gonna do it.
Damn right. And if you don't, and I'm subscribed because it's my damn thing. Why not, right? But if you don't take my word for it or Steve's, here's pro wrestler Zeta Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe.